The Pope and Young Club wants to welcome you as we rally together to ensure our bow hunting opportunities for today and tomorrow. You've come to the podcast that believes in preserving, protecting, and promoting the passion for bow hunting. Join us as we strive to be the voice of today's bow hunter. This is the Pope and Young Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pope and Young Podcast. Jason Roundsville here, joined by my co-host Dylan Ray. And we have with us from Howl for Wildlife, we have Charles Whitwam. Charles, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on. Jason Roundsville.
Roundsville.
Yeah.
Makes it sound fancy.
Yeah.
I like it. I never thought I'd be fancy, but when you say it like that, I feel fancy. So,
You look fancy with the headset on.
Oh man, thanks.
We all do. Yeah.
Instant credibility if you wear a headset.
Absolutely.
Although, I was walking through the mall the other day and somebody called me. They say, "Hey, I see you're wearing a headset." And I'm like, "Oh, it's because I'm important." They're like, "Yeah, but it's not plugged in." I was like, "Uh-oh." So anyway, we're moving forward. Charles, this is your repeat performance on the Pope and Young podcast.
Yes.
So welcome back. We're excited to have you. For those that maybe don't remember or haven't heard that episode yet, we had Charles on, gosh, it's been about a year ago, in response to the bear measure that was trying to get passed.
Yeah, we killed it.
Killed that one. And so give just like a brief, tell our listeners that maybe didn't hear it the first time, tell them about that and how that you were able to get the traction on that.
Yeah. So it was a bill introduced from a senator in San Francisco about a year ago, a little over a year ago now, to ban bear hunting in California. And I started a grassroots effort basically the day after that was read. And that grassroots effort certainly caught fire. And within 5 days, we had over 27,000 people signing a petition and making lots of phone calls. And it just got a lot of attention nationwide. And that bill was pulled after that. And so for me, and to everyone else that I spoke with that had been involved in things like this before, they'd said they'd never seen hunters come together against something so fast and kind of with one voice. So for me, it meant there was a hole to be filled. There was something missing, and it's hunters actually getting involved. So that's when I started working on Howl for Wildlife.
Okay. Well, we like it. I remember, when the bear thing came about, we tried to lend a hand where we could. And now with the, and even since then, we have incorporated the protect component into the 3 Ps for Pope and Young. It's preserve, promote, and protect. So that's something that we're looking to take a bigger role in, and not always be the leader or the point person, but just jump in and help out where we can. Jumping in with you guys, jumping in with state organizations. And so that's how we thought that this and Howl for Wildlife was a good fit for us, because your goal is basically to keep the anti-hunting measures in front of people so that they have an opportunity via your site easily to correspond with the bill makers and the legislators.
Yeah, that is our goal. It's too easy with the technology that's available today. Number one, it should be too easy. It just hasn't been that easy for whatever reason. But there's so many hunters and anglers and sportsmen and non-hunting public who understand the role that hunting plays as well, in conservation of wildlife and wildlife management, in overall the reason why we see the amount of wildlife that we see today as compared to, say, 100 years ago. there's so many people that understand that, but we haven't given them the proper platform for their voice to be heard and for them to do it easily. Yeah. That's the big thing, is easily, because anybody can do their research and send out a bunch of emails and write a bunch of emails, but people don't do that. It takes a lot of time. They have full-time jobs. They're doing this, they're doing that. You know, you're going to set aside how much time of your day to figure out this stuff for them. So that's what we're trying to do, is to provide that info in the simplest way that we can. Sometimes it's difficult because some of these issues are kind of complex, but in the simplest way that we can. But certainly we've provided the simplest way for you to make your voice heard, at least through emails and phone calls, and then even getting involved in commission meetings if you want. We've made it, you know, we kind of have a support system for that, so you don't feel like an idiot, and you're getting information that you agree with, but that you might not have, thought about at first, because it takes a lot of time to think about this stuff. So we kind of spell it out for you. What do you think about this? Does this make sense to you? And then use this language, use this data we're providing to make your voice heard. So at the end of the day,
sorry, go ahead.
At the end of the day, it takes about 3 seconds to send an email from yourself to the decision makers on these bills. So, and the emails are a variety of emails. You might not know it, but if you click, I guess, refresh on the action pages, you'll see the pre-drafted email that'll change. So what we're trying to do is have just tons of different emails for each issue already pre-drafted. So it's not a canned email that's being sent to the decision makers. And you can also edit it and add stuff, add info on it that you want to add, as well. But if you don't want to do that, we've got that provided for you.
I was just going to ask you how you kind of go about, you said you lay it out. How do you go about laying out an issue in a way that is easily understood to the hunter? Because the anti-hunters make these things so, I'm not calling us as hunters dumb, but they word it in a way where we're like, wait a minute, okay, maybe that is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They word it in a way that we can't understand because they're using our own language. And I say we can't understand it for the negative. So how do you kind of go about explaining it in the true light that it really is?
Well, it's a little more difficult what the anti-hunters do, they'll call something science or data. And maybe it's a bit of science in there. Maybe it's, a bit of data, but it's always cherry picking. It's, from what I've seen, it's been very deceitful. Here's a case in point. And I say this to people all the time. I said, if I didn't know any better and I was presented a survey, they do a lot of this stuff through surveys. They'll say 80% of Californians agree that trophy hunting of bear should be banned. And their definition of trophy hunting is we are out there killing a bear for the head, right? There's no mention of the meat consumption. There's no mention of the law that you have to take the meat, right? And then they'll throw in there, do you think bear hunting should, they'll throw in bear cubs, like we're killing bear cubs. There's already laws against that as well, right? So if I didn't know any better and I read that, I would say, well, even if you ask me that now, I would say, yeah, no, I disagree that, we shouldn't be allowed to do that, but we're not. But they're painting the hunting community as that is what is happening, right? Yeah. So it's very easy to be deceitful in that way and get the results that you want out of that. And if you don't know any better, then you don't know any better, and you're kind of being lured into supporting something that you might, if you knew the truth, you might not actually support. So it is more difficult for us because we have to explain a lot more. And I'm not talking about, we don't generally need to explain these things to the hunting community, right? But we do. Our mission really should be to educate the non-hunting public, because we are going to need them on our side for I think for us to win out here. But if they are first presented, if they're first contacted by an anti-hunting organization and they're fed this information, it's actually worse for us, because now we're facing somebody, an individual or a group or whatnot, who already has this preconceived notion of what we are. So now we have to break that down first, right? And then tell them our story. But again, who has time for that? It's just the way human psychology works. So I think if we can start taking our message, which is supported by data and science, and hit the mainstream first with this, then it makes it harder. So then when they hear a message or they see a survey about, trophy hunting and California bears and all that kind of stuff, that person can already say, well, wait a second, there's already a law. This doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? There's already a law against all this. So we need to use tactics here, and so to answer your question, how do we make it simple? I look at the content that I'm provided and I try to have it make as much sense as possible for somebody who's looking at one of our action items, to say, okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. Here it is, bullet pointed out. And I get it, but it's not the truth is not always the easy way to go, but it's still the truth. It's just kind of the way it works. That's the challenge, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't always have the same pop. It's kind of like, hey, would you be against people driving 200 miles an hour down your city street?
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, I'm against that. That's why it's a 25 mile per hour speed limit. It's already illegal.
Yeah.
So they use the same things. And I like to think when you look at hunters and even outdoorsmen as a whole, I think sometimes we're focused on getting ready for the season versus some of these antis. They really, I don't know what they have to live for other than just kind of messing with other people, but they don't have anything to do. I guess they make sure their tofu burger doesn't burn or something, but like this is their thing. Like we're out there chasing, deer or elk or fish or whatever our quarry may be, and we're their quarry. We're literally their pastime is attacking us.
Yeah.
And they don't even understand these issues. I mean, I saw something come across my desk today that they want to ban hunting on national wildlife refuges. And it's like, guys, hunters paid for those refuges. We literally self-imposed the Pittman-Robertson Act taxes on outdoor equipment to make sure that we provided for those. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, okay, well, how are they going to replace this, billions of income? Are the antis going to say, oh, you know what? I didn't buy gear to contribute to this, so I'm going to write a check for, like $1,500 a year. No, they don't pay anything. All they do is make noise. So here's our way to where we're already supporting the entire wildlife, conservation effort through our dollars, through our donations. Now along the way, you've made it very easy for us to also make some noise and have a voice.
Well, that's what it's all about is, let's make some noise and let's see where that goes. And I don't often talk about this because it's coming from me, I guess. And it's kind of like, I don't want to brag, but maybe I should. So what's the word? Synergy, I think. I don't know. One thing I have noticed since the bear ban last year got pulled, is I've seen a huge difference. And I think a lot of it has to do with the route that we've taken. And then now that Howl for Wildlife has launched, we launched January 11th, I'm just seeing more involvement from everybody. I'm seeing a different approach from organizations. I'm seeing the beginning of organizations starting to work with each other instead of going in different directions. So whether it's necessarily through our platform or not, I think what we're showing is that to a point, I'm like, this is ridiculous to even make this point, because why would anybody second guess this? But having the base get involved is really important. And they just haven't been able to before. It hasn't been easy for them to. And, you know, when we lose issues, what I always heard was, well, we didn't have enough hunters show up. And the anti-hunters showed up. Okay, well, let's fix that, right? So it's strange. I mean, there's some politics involved with this, with the whole thing on both sides, but our goal is just to get the hunters involved. And I can't see where that is going to, you know, if we're going to put up a fight, we might as well put up a real fight with all of our members. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the outcome is going to be. But I can tell you what the outcome is going to be if we don't get involved. We can see it. We can see it happening every year, you know, less and less and less and less. And there's, you know, Fish and Wildlife commissions, commissioners, boards, you know, that are getting members, you know, confirmed that have zero background in anything to do with wildlife management. They've never hunted or fished a day in their lives. And in fact, some of them are outspoken. I don't know if I want to, you know, I don't know if you'd call them an extremist or whatnot, but you know, they're not aligned with, I'll just say this, they're not aligned with the North American model of wildlife conservation. Well, 100%, you know, so, it takes all kinds on that, but it's a dangerous precedence for us to go down if our own commissions who make up the rulemaking for fishing and hunting issues are just kind of politically appointed people. So, and we can stand up to that and have a voice against that. And I think give sound reason on the importance of who we need our commissioners to be.
Here and along with that, if you look at how that goes, you know, these are appointed positions from folks that don't understand. They've never been there. They've never done that. And that's okay to get, you know, maybe the other side's perspective from time to time, but on what's not really to be questioned is the effectiveness of the North American model. It is absolutely working. It has been 100% proven to work across the board all over North America. And now all of a sudden they just try to discount that and just do their own little thing. And that's where I have a problem, because they're not taking the science and the data and the facts into consideration. Along those lines, that's where Pope and Young, we have a position statement to where we don't believe wildlife management. We believe it belongs in the hands of the professional wildlife managers, not in the ballot box. If it's at the ballot box, you have people that, you know, it's like, gosh, you have to take a test before you drive a car, but you don't have to take a test before you vote. And people don't know what they're talking about. And that's scary, that something that people have no idea about can radically change how we do things in our lives.
Well, then it just becomes a competition of who markets the message the best. And who does the hunting community market the message to? Ourselves. We market the message to the choir. I don't get it. Honestly, I don't get the effectiveness of that. Who does the Humane Society of the United States or anti-hunting groups, who do they market the message to? They market the message to the mainstream. And you might buy it, you might not, but they market that message to the mainstream. So, and they put pressure on, these boards or these departments, whoever it is that we're talking about. And that pressure does something. If we don't put pressure, if we don't apply similar pressure, then what is it we're going to do? We're all going to stand in a circle and be like, yeah, we're all hunters here. And we all agree on these issues, but nobody else around us who's not a hunter, they don't even know about these issues. We're not marketing to them at all.
Well, no. And the problem is, as outdoors people, we actually go to the root cause. You see Humane Society of the US or ASP, all of these groups, they're taking their money and they're buying national TV commercial spots.
Yeah.
They're not helping a resource. They're not putting their money where it needs to be.
Yep.
They're taking money that could be used for something important, i.e. conservation.
Yep.
And they're putting it towards marketing. And that's all it is. And so here as hunters and fishermen, our money, we put it right where our mouth is. We say, hey, you know what? Gee, ducks, elk, deer, whatever it happens to be, they need X, Y, or Z. And we go out and we raise and we donate the money for that.
Yep.
And we make a difference.
No, you're right. You're right. And that's a great point. I guess what I'm saying is I think we do need to also concentrate on issues are going to go to the ballot box. And when they do, where's our $20 million set aside to where we can effectively combat whatever that issue is that goes to the ballot box. It sucks. I'm just saying we need it. Or
no, it's they're out there building their war chest to go to war.
Yeah.
And we're not hammering our plows into swords. We're out there plowing up the land for white-tailed deer. Yeah. And it's the best thing for the deer, but it's not ultimately the best thing for hunters long term. And it's hard to change, 70 years of mentality that's what we needed to do. And the other thing that I see that is going to be critical, we saw it with the bear issue. We've seen it with a couple other ones, but we tend to be splintered. And maybe that's, the folks that are attacking us, I think that's part of their platform is, hey, we're not going to go up and we're not going to headbutt hunting right in the middle of the crowd. We're just going to pull off a little on the fringe. It's like, we'll just over here, we'll take a little bit of bear season out. Over there, we'll take, they don't need to hunt with hounds. We'll just take a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And they're not coming straight on. So people think, it's like a duck hunter looks at it and it's like, that's kind of a bummer that bear hunters can't use dogs anymore. Well, did you say anything about it? Did you participate? Well, no, because it just doesn't pertain to me.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality that we need to get away from. We have got to come together and by making it easier, I believe that you're increasing the chances that the duck hunter is going to participate in a bear hunting initiative, or the bear hunter is going to participate on an elk hunting. I think the easier it is, the less time it takes, and the easier it is for those, quote unquote, fragmented groups to participate.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem that I see, and you guys kind of alluded to it, is that we're pitching our ideas to each other rather than the non-hunting community. But the problem is the hunting community is so divided on issues that we can't even agree amongst ourselves, much less get other people on board with us. How in the crud does somebody from the outside looking in look into the hunting community, see nothing but division and people putting each other down because of what they shoot, how they shoot it, why they shoot it, where they shoot it, and decide, they're all right. Yeah, I need to support this, because we can't even support ourselves. And so I think that's the biggest issue is we're all trying to get our own agendas pushed, and we create division inside of our own group.
That's for sure.
We 100% do. You should just play whatever animal it is, whatever issue it is, it should just be fill in the blank. The bigger picture, if you ask the anti-hunting groups where they would stop on an animal. Okay, they won't. Okay, so a bear is the same as a duck, and an elk is the same as a turkey, and a fish, a trout, whatever, is the same as a buffalo. I mean, I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. That's the way it has to be looked at, 100%. And I think the issue in Oregon, OP 13, that they're trying to get on the ballot, that spells it out for you. That would ban everything, all hunting, all fishing, all ag. All kind, all ag, of all kinds. So there's your writing on the wall. That's it. So that's the way that all needs to be looked at, 100%. And that's why we need everybody on the same side, streamlined.
Yeah. And you look at that and you're like, well, nobody would be stupid enough to vote for that. But they're getting the signatures to get it on the ballot. Yeah. You know, who are these people? Like, how are they doing this?
It's well, a part of it, it's worded, the way it's worded is, I guess, kind of clever. You know, it doesn't say what I just said. It doesn't say banning of hunting and fishing and ag. It doesn't say that, but that's what it is. Though that's the real definition of what they're trying to do. I mean, I don't know how that would sustain itself for the economic impacts and everything. Would just be absolutely insane, you know, but my point is that's the end goal right now. We do know that there's been, you know, mountain lion bans, and there's been bear bans, and there's been tons of predator bans, of course. And then while doing that, this might lead you into one of your questions. And then while doing that, let's not have bear management, let's not have mountain lion management, but then let's introduce wolves on top of that. So, okay, how does this even make any sense at all? We're not going to have predator management, which means the ungulates, both the predators and the ungulates are going to suffer, and everything down the line. And then let's also throw in maybe the most efficient apex predator, wolves. Let's throw that in there and not manage them either.
Because wolves used to be here. No. Canadian timber wolves never roamed here. That's a different, completely different thing.
It is a completely different thing. But it's a management issue from top to bottom. And I think the way that I don't think this is their intention. Like I don't think the most anti-hunters really think this way at all, because they wouldn't do it. They're just they're passionate about things that just aren't factual. They are the anti-hunting message hurts wildlife.
Yes.
Okay. So that's why it's sort of a play on words, and it's kind of funny to me. Howl for wildlife and showing a wolf and all that with howl for wildlife. It's okay. Number one, I don't want to kill all the wolves. Okay. Like, I'm against anybody who's like, oh, just kill them all, kill all the predators. You know, that doesn't make any sense, because they're part of this as well, but they need to be managed. Okay. Now, if you ask me if wolves should be introduced into a state where there's no other predator management, absolutely not. That's crazy.
Right.
But the pack, the wolves, that's us. Like, we need to be a pack. We need to be efficient in what it is that we're doing. We need to howl with our voices for wildlife, because it is saving wildlife. When we management practices save wildlife, that is what we are doing, and we shouldn't be afraid to say that. I feel like we don't talk about that a lot. I see anti-hunting groups co-opting the message of saving wildlife or being conservationists, and I'm like, okay, hold on a second. No, we have to take that back, and we can use imagery of a wolf just fine. We're not hunters, and wolves shouldn't be pitted against each other any more than hunters and turkey or fish or elk or anything else. This is all wildlife, and if we want to save all wildlife and make it as efficient and productive and healthy as possible, then we have to include all wildlife into that picture, and don't let any other organization co-opt a message or turn us against each other or whatever else. That's so. I mean, it's kind of I want the optics to be a little different, and that was what Howl for Wildlife is it looks different, but we're also providing something I think that is very different and is efficient for actually saving wildlife.
Yeah, and I mean, I've even heard that. So we were talking about it, and somebody's like, "Well, I'm not sure what they are." I mean, they have it's Howl, aren't they, for wolves? And it's like, no, that's not the thing. Well, Uncle Billy posted something on Facebook that said this, and well, that's must be purely factual data if Uncle Billy posted it. But you talk to you, and you're pro hunting, you're pro us being able to have a voice in things. And I think that one of the biggest things is that as hunters, we communicate, earlier you talked about science and facts. That means something to us. The data has value in the way that we process information to make decisions. And I think in a lot of cases, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of people on the other side, they don't understand the data. I mean, they don't get that, oh, gee, hunters have raised billions upon billions of dollars, not for places to hunt, not for anything that they get, but you look at some of these organizations, they're raising money, they're sending it to Canada to help ducks. They're doing projects in a state 7 states away because that helps elk, not because it's in your backyard, not because it will ever have a direct impact for me personally. That's how we've done it. And I think the economic impacts. Okay, guess what? If we lose all the hunter and fisherman dollars in the state of Oregon, Fish and Wildlife ceases to exist here because there's no money to look out for it. Now, I guarantee you that all these other people are not going to come up with the thousands upon thousands of dollars per person that hunters and fishermen put into this, not only through Pittman Robertson, but direct donations to organizations. Mm-hmm. They don't want to do that. They just want to stop us from being able to go out and do what, my ancestors have done my entire, the entire chain here. It's like, this is not new for me. This is something that we've done for generations and generations.
100% right. And they won't, they're not going to put up the money for that. I don't even think they even have enough money for that. Honestly, that would, you know what I mean? It's a perfect storm with sportsmen because it takes a lifestyle, a hobby, an adventure, a sustainable, all the reasons why people do it. It takes that. And whether you know it or not, whether you think about this actively or not, it's turning the dollars spent in your activity through the role of hunting into there's I don't even know where we would get the money or where we would get the resources if it wasn't through what we as hunters or anglers do. Hold on a second. My dogs are gonna.
Yeah, there's no way to actually get that money. It just wouldn't exist.
I think he muted us and bolted.
Okay.
Sorry about that. My dogs are going to go crazy. Anyway, what I was saying is, it's just the perfect storm where we get the money to go to wildlife conservation and the role that hunters play in keeping the populations balanced, which is through quotas given by each state through wildlife biologists. Where would that come from? Otherwise, how would we accomplish this? It really is the perfect storm.
Yeah.
So it's impossible for them to accomplish that.
No, and it would drastically cut into their TV advertising budget.
Yes, it would.
It's no, I look at it and every once in a while I'll get stuck on an airplane with somebody that is most likely not a hunter. And hey, I'll whip out a hunting magazine, or if I don't have it, I'll start looking at Gunbroker on my phone.
Yeah.
And, we'll just start, talking about it. And they, 30 seconds into the conversation, they don't have any information to contribute. And I'm like,
yeah,
well, why would you be against hunting? Well, it's mean for the animal. I'm like, well, have you ever seen an animal die of starvation? I can tell you what happens to them on our side, with the effective management is better. Have you seen them eaten by a wolf? Like if you think wolves are great, and I'd love someday to see wolves and hear them howl, but you know what? If you think they need to be introduced everywhere, just pull up a video of how an elk is eaten by a pack of wolves for minutes before it's actually dead.
Yeah. Well, you can see that on any of the, they show it all day long on National Geographic in Africa, lions and hyenas and everything, just pulling the guts out of something or whatnot. But, I think for anybody who's just against it, then I would imagine they never get a steak at a restaurant or go to the grocery store and get any meat at all, because to me, it's just like this, some crazy hypocrisy there. I mean, what is the difference, really? What's the difference?
Lazy. They want somebody else to do it for them.
Yeah.
They want the meat. They just don't want to think about it.
Right. But the animals we are talking about are wild animals where, if you want to get into this, they are at the, they have all kinds of the environmental, they have predators, they have whatever, aspects coming at them, trying to kill them all day long. Right. So when we go out there and put an arrow through them or a bullet or whatnot, they're living in their wild environment. You know what I mean? And their death through because of a hunter is actually pretty natural. I mean, we're just another predator. That's the thing is humans are just another predator.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're separate from, obviously we are, because we're humans and our intellect, but when it comes to hunting an animal and trying to kill an animal, well, a mountain lion's trying to do that, and a wolf is trying to do that, and bears sometimes, they try to do that. Depends on the bear we're talking about or whatever. But I mean, and coyotes and foxes and whatever, down to marmots and everything. Everything's hunting something, So when we come into the equation, why is it so different when we come into the equation? And when we do it, generally, the vast majority of the time, it's the most efficient death that animal could expect. I mean, it's not expecting it, but you know what I'm saying? It's the most efficient death that animal could ever have. And I would say generally, really would. Yeah. I mean, I've shot a lot of animals with an arrow, and some of them don't even know it. I have shot animals where arrows have gone through them and they stand there and they keep feeding. And I have videos of that and hunting whitetail, and I'm like, did I miss? And all of a sudden the animal just falls over. Like, it didn't even know that it was hit. It's not always like that, but in the other times they take the arrow and they run for, I don't know, 60 yards and they fall over. They just know something happened. They fall over and they're dead. So to your point, no, we're not eating them alive from the inside out, and where they're, alive and
watching it,
screaming or whatever, watching the whole thing. No, it's we play an important role in the life and death of all wildlife.
Yeah. And hunters are a management tool, like us or not.
Yeah.
Wildlife populations are in better shape with us here than without us.
Well, that's a very important point. Yeah. I mean, that's the point we sort of need to get across. And it's not just saying that, we can show that, that's the message I'd like to get out to everybody.
Yeah. Well, Charles, tell us where people can go to check out your website and get involved.
Yeah, it's howlforwildlife.org. We're also on the social media posts I do on Instagram, and then after I do that, it just gets shared to Twitter or Facebook. But everything basically begins at an Instagram. But howlforwildlife.org is the website. You can sign up for free, which is basically just creating an account, and then there is a button on the web page that says take action, and you go to that take action page, and it's basically clickable pictures of different issues that's going on in each state, and you can read the content about it and what's going on. But at the bottom, there's a button that'll say add your howl, add your voice. And when you do that, emails or calls, whatever it is that we have set up, will be sent out to the decision makers who are connected to that issue. So that whole process honestly would take less than 10 seconds for everybody. And you can take, the way it's set up is anybody in any state can take action on any issue that's going on in any state. You do not have to be a resident of that state to take action on that issue. Furthermore, the website is gamified. So what that means is when you create an account, every action that you take or other things that we have going on there, there's a point value assigned to that. So you get enough points racked up and you're automatically entered into some pretty cool contests that we have with some partners. Like we just gave away a Stone Glacier solo backpack for one, which was pretty sweet, to two guys who, they just had enough points and their name was entered into a drawing, and they got an email that said, hey, guess what? You're going to win. And nice. you won. And, what's your address? And they got the backpacks now. And then also, when you take action, you get a confirmation email that says, thank you for doing this. In that email, we have other participating partners that are offering discount codes. So you get it in your email, where it's a clickable link. So when you buy something on their website, the code auto-populates in the checkout. So it's pretty sweet. And it's just incentivizing and hopefully keeping people involved in these issues. We're trying to be creative with it. We got a lot of new things coming to make that even better. But at the end of the day, it's a place where anybody can come and while they're standing in line for coffee, take action in probably most states that are going on. And right now, and the cool thing is there's pro hunting bills. How many times have you heard, how come we're always on our heels? We're always on the defense. How do we get on the offense? And I mean, this is a great question. When the Humane Society goes to a state and they submit a valid petition, the valid paperwork for them to get something considered in a state to generally take away hunting rights, we can do the same thing. I mean, I don't know why we don't more and get behind that, but it's not like it's just limited to them. It's not like it's just limited to taking away. We can add to. So that's important. That's something we really need to start doing, and then getting behind that. Right now we have some pro hunting bills, 3, 2. Let's see, there's 4 that I'm putting up, but I'm trying to think of how many are up right now. There's at least 2 that are up right now. Maybe 3. No, there's 3 that's up right now. Adding some more this week. But that's the other thing, is not just being on the defensive, being on the offensive, and taking it that route. I mean, that's something we don't do enough of. So we're trying to give voice to that as well.
Very good. Yeah, you just don't think about that. It's something you just don't think about needing to push forward to ensure that you have something that, for us, we've had it our whole lives. You just, take it for granted is the right term, but maybe that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I know here at Pope and Young, it's a part of our mission help protect bow hunting and bow hunting opportunities. So that's why we thought this was such a good opportunity to have you on and hear about what you guys are doing, not just for bow hunting, but for hunting, fishing, and, outdoors in general. So, we've partnered in the past. We look forward to continue that partnership in the future.
I really appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on.
You bet. Well, folks, if you haven't checked it out, go search for Howl for Wildlife. It doesn't take long to sign up, to where it literally takes seconds to participate in issues affecting sportsmen and women all over the country. Now, are you guys just in the United States right now?
Yeah. I've been looking. We can do our software is set up for Canada as well. And I know there's a lot of issues going on there that I've been contacted about. I'm just trying to build this up for here in the States first. And then once we do, I'll certainly would like to get involved in that as well. But our software will reach the decision makers in Canada as well. And what I mean by that is it's kind of an automated system. So we're not sending emails that just get sent to spam folders or whatever else. It's I think it's called whitelisted, but they're not just going out into the stratosphere. They're going to the right people, and we can track that as well, that your emails are actually going to the right people.
Now, are you able to track how of these emails that are getting sent are the folks, are they actually getting opened?
Yeah. Okay. So I checked it today. I think it's like 176,000 emails have been sent out.
Nice.
So far. Yeah. So, and it has been talked about a lot on, from these decision makers. I was in Colorado a few weeks ago for the hearing on that. And two of the senators brought up the emails. I've gotten direct emails from, commission members, or other senators that are just like, what's going on? We've never seen the hunting community, send so many emails. Like, maybe we got 100 here or 100 before, but what's going on right now? And our calling campaigns, they started answering the phones with, are you calling to oppose this bill? Because every phone call they were getting was about that. So
that's good.
It's certainly making a difference for sure. And it is being recognized 100%.
Yeah. Gee, imagine if the silent majority all of a sudden is no longer silent.
Yeah.
So
there's 60 to 80 million sportsmen, hunters, anglers, and the shooting sport in the United States. So that's who we are trying to engage first. Imagine that.
Yep.
Great point.
That's a big voice.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for what you're doing on behalf of hunters and fishermen all across the country. And like I said, we look forward to a continued partnership with you guys. And so let us know. We'll be working on places where we can figure that all out.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thanks for being here.
Yep. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, Jason.